And I'm really excited. But as I've gotten a little bit older, I sort of want to. Really, I'm lucky that I get to work in this industry, and particularly incredibly fortunate that I get to work in it this long. But I really want to work with people that are either immensely talented or people that I love and that I'm genuinely best friends with.
They say life in Hollywood can be unpredictable, and sometimes the most surprising stories bubble up out of nowhere. That's exactly what happened when rumors started swirling about a so-called toxic atmosphere on the set of If, the highly anticipated movie starring two of the nicest guys in the industry, Steve Carell and Ryan Reynolds. If you've been keeping up with showbiz gossip, you've probably seen breathless headlines claiming that Steve Carell outright exposed Ryan for fostering an unhealthy work environment. On the surface, such an accusation seems impossible. Both men are known for their friendliness, humor, and genuine warmth. So how did we land here? The rumor took shape in the corners of social media where speculation thrives. One day, a mysterious post appeared, suggesting that Steve Carell, yes, the Steve we know from The Office and countless beloved comedies, had spoken out about an uncomfortable, high-pressure set managed by Ryan Reynolds. Within hours, fans were dissecting every past interview, analyzing body language, and scrolling through behind-the-scenes snapshots to hunt for signs of trouble. Initial reactions ranged from utter disbelief to scandal-hungry excitement, as onlookers scrambled to find any evidence that these comedic icons were at odds. Yet what really fanned the flames was how little anyone actually knew. People who adored both actors felt torn. They either dismissed the rumor as trashy gossip or found themselves strangely hooked by the idea that Hollywood's golden boys might have shadows after all. And that's precisely how a single online murmur blossomed into a full-blown controversy. It was a question nobody thought they'd ever ask. Could Ryan Reynolds, comedic sweetheart and philanthropic hero, really be a toxic boss? And could Steve Carell be so fed up that he decided to expose it? But that wasn't the whole story. What came next added more layers to an already puzzling situation, drawing fans deeper into the rabbit hole. Few actors in Hollywood maintain the kind of reputations that Steve Carell and Ryan Reynolds have spent decades building. Steve gained fame through roles that showcased his comedic timing and gentle spirit. Co-stars frequently mention how he's the calm presence on set, the actor who helps everyone relax. Clips from table reads, red carpet interviews, and press junkets show him offering heartfelt compliments to colleagues, smiling easily, and elevating younger talent. Fans view him as a sincere professional, a person more likely to make you laugh over coffee than to lash out behind closed doors. Ryan's public image shines almost as brightly. Whether his wisecracking on Twitter or teaming up with fellow celebrities for comedic stunts, he radiates a quick wit that's disarmingly self-deprecating.
Yeah. My relationship with my father, which was very complicated and difficult. My dad was a very, I come from a middle class, kind of blue-collar home, and my dad was just of that generation, where it's just he was Clint Eastwood, less is more. Simple grunts is how he communicated.
Okay, gotcha.
I think people tell themselves stories, and this sort of comes back to your worldview that you just mentioned about.
He jokes about his kids, pokes fun at his own movies, and even leaps at philanthropic efforts, from supporting children's hospitals to amplifying charitable campaigns. The result is a consistent portrayal of a laid-back collaborator who brings positivity wherever he goes. So the rumor that Steve Carell witnessed and then spoke about a toxic environment overseen by Ryan lands like a thunderbolt out of a clear sky. It contradicts almost everything we've come to associate with both men. Friends, family, and fans collectively scratch their heads, asking, where is this negative energy coming from? If you lined up every rumor you've heard about these two, you'd find mostly heartwarming stories, like how Ryan occasionally gives crew members gifts, or how Steve invites staff to share input on comedic bits. Yet the spark of controversy can be compelling. A handful of fans insisted that maybe they detected tension in certain interviews, moments where Steve was less animated or times when Ryan seemed preoccupied. Unverified claims sprang up from so-called industry insiders, who alleged friction that was never captured on camera. Although none of these accounts were backed by solid proof, they spread fast, fueling the notion that something deeply troubling was afoot. People found themselves asking if comedy's friendliest faces might be hiding darker personalities. Still, the weight of logic pulls in the opposite direction. For these rumors to be true, we would need to see an abrupt pivot from two men widely described as polite, humorous, and collaborative. If anything, that drastic turnaround is part of what keeps the rumor alive. It's so shocking that it lures people into wanting to know more. And what happened next would shock everyone who thought the speculation would die quickly. A major piece of the puzzle is the film at the heart of the rumor, If. This project was announced with a boast of excitement. Directed by John Krasinski and starring Ryan Reynolds, it promised a whimsical, family-friendly adventure that aimed to capture the hearts of audiences young and old. The combination of Ryan's comedic flair and John's reputation for crafting heartfelt narratives, as seen in A Quiet Place and various other projects, intrigued film buffs. Then came the revelation that Steve Carell would be joining the party, and anticipation soared even higher. Who wouldn't want to see comedic powerhouses like Ryan and Steve reunited under John's direction? From the outset, If was pitched as a fun, imaginative story, something light-hearted and emotionally resonant. Early social media posts from the set showed Ryan and John grinning on location, teasing fans about an upcoming magical project. Steve, too, popped up in glimpses here and there, fueling fan theories about his role. Some speculated the film might involve elements of fantasy, comedic realism, and that warm sense of wonder reminiscent of classic family movies. Given the positive buzz, few people suspected anything was amiss. That's precisely why the rumor about a toxic work environment caught so many off guard. It felt like a betrayal of the film's core values. How could something rumored to be so unpleasant emerge from a set that promised uplifting content? But rumors, as they often do, lurked in corners of the internet. Posters claiming to have insider info insisted that behind the cheerful facade, deadlines were tight, stress was high, and Ryan was demanding near-flawless execution from everyone on set. Some claimed that Steve privately expressed concerns about the pressure piling onto the crew, apparently leading to a meltdown or two.
No, I mean, I always thought I'd end up as in law enforcement, like my family. So I didn't imagine that acting was a way to get out of the house. It wasn't really like a passion when I was a kid. It was something that I was already doing at home, to survive. So
Right.
you kind of, I noticed when I was a kid, making people laugh was a great self-defense mechanism. It really helped me kind of navigate my way through my own home with my older brothers and my dad, and I could diffuse them by making them laugh.
Yet with no concrete photos or video clips capturing any drama, people were left to wonder if the rumor was just a fabricated horror story conjured to generate gossip. That didn't stop certain outlets from running sensational headlines like Steve Carell calls out Ryan Reynolds for toxic behavior on If set, or Behind Ryan's Smile, the shocking truth revealed by a fuming Steve. With each new piece of clickbait, fans grew more curious. The conversation turned from "this can't be true" to "what if it is?" Skeptics and believers clashed over possible scenarios that might explain how such a bombshell rumor could arise. One camp argued that big-budget productions naturally create tension, especially when you have multiple A-listers, elaborate schedules, and high audience expectations. They suggested that Ryan, juggling film roles, business investments, and personal ventures, might be short on patience. Throw in Steve Carell, someone rumored to have strong piss. Some fans proposed that the comedic styles of Ryan and Steve, while both brilliant, might clash behind the scenes. Ryan's irreverent, rapid-fire humor might rub against Steve's more understated, character-driven approach. If disagreements flared over script changes, comedic direction, or shooting deadlines, perhaps tensions escalated. A few corners of the internet even floated the idea that Steve, famously quiet about personal disputes, only spoke out because he felt it was the right thing to do, especially if crew members were exhausted or mistreated. On the flip side, many people instantly rolled their eyes at these ideas. They pointed out that Ryan Reynolds has a history of working successfully with comedic legends, from Samuel L. Jackson to Will Ferrell, without drama-laden headlines. No one from those sets publicly complained about him. Moreover, the notion that Steve Carell, one of the most consistently gracious actors in Hollywood, would suddenly blow the whistle in a secret interview or hush-hush conversation felt out of character. Usually, if Steve has an issue, he addresses it respectfully or goes through official channels, not rumor sites. Ultimately, the theories became so numerous that no single story stuck. One day, the rumor pinned the blame on Ryan's impossible standards, while the next, it alleged creative rifts or meltdown-worthy scheduling. In the absence of concrete evidence or official statements, these speculations rattled around online, picking up traction the longer the principals stayed silent. And with each passing day, the puzzle got murkier. Meanwhile, reputable entertainment journalists mostly stayed quiet. None published scathing exposés about Ryan's alleged tyranny or Steve's dramatic complaints. At press events for IF, the atmosphere seemed downright cheerful.
No, hear it from the front of the car when they were little kids.
Oh, okay.
I've heard a lot of animated.
You know, I didn't imagine that acting was a way to get out of the house. It wasn't really like a passion when I was a kid.
Social media tidbits from the cast and crew depicted them laughing, referencing inside jokes, and occasionally wearing matching t-shirts. These glimpses suggested an entirely different story from the rumor. And yet, the rumor refused to die, fed by the internet's appetite for scandal and the universal fascination with the idea that nice guys might hide a harsher side. A portion of fans argued that if the rumor were true, Steve Carell, a known straight shooter, would come forward. They reasoned that Steve wouldn't let his name be dragged into a toxic environment story without clarifying matters. His silence, in their view, was proof enough that the rumor was nonsense. Others countered that silence could imply hush-hush legal agreements or a desire to keep the peace. Each theory fanned the flames a little higher, ensuring the rumor remained a hot topic. Meanwhile, reputable entertainment journalists mostly stayed quiet. None published scathing exposés about Ryan's alleged tyranny or Steve's dramatic complaints. At press events for IF, the atmosphere seemed downright cheerful. Social media tidbits from the cast and crew depicted them laughing, referencing inside jokes, and occasionally wearing matching t-shirts. These glimpses suggested an entirely different story from the rumor. And yet, the rumor refused to die, fed by the internet's appetite for scandal and the universal fascination with the idea that nice guys might hide a harsher side. A portion of fans argued that if the rumor were true, Steve Carell, a known straight shooter, would come forward. They reasoned that Steve wouldn't let his name be dragged into a toxic environment story without clarifying matters. His silence, in their view, was proof enough that the rumor was nonsense. Others countered that silence could imply hush-hush legal agreements or a desire to keep the peace. Each theory fanned the flames a little higher, ensuring the rumor remained a hot topic. Looming over all of this is another beloved figure, John Krasinski. IF is his brainchild, a film he wrote, directed, and championed. Fans of The Office already know John shares a warm friendship with Steve Carell, built across years of comedic success and mutual trust. There's also a friendly bond between John and Ryan Reynolds. They famously cheer each other on in interviews and social media posts. Given John's cheerful persona, many find it hard to imagine that he'd let a project spiral into negativity without stepping in. He's known for fostering a welcoming set, encouraging collaboration, and maintaining an environment where cast and crew feel heard.
I would say that they're more surprises because they have beginnings, middles, and ends. They're not like, it's not just like a, hey, there's the person and we move on. It's they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said it just earlier, but I wanted to go back on that. You think that this might be the greatest film that you've...
I mean, look, most of the time when the movie is this much fun to make, you up bad.
For every rumor about IF being a disaster, there are multiple accounts describing John as an empathetic leader who values everyone's input. Looming over all of this is another beloved figure, John Krasinski. IF is his brainchild, a film he wrote, directed, and championed. Fans of The Office already know John shares a warm friendship with Steve Carell, built across years of comedic success and mutual trust. There's also a friendly bond between John and Ryan Reynolds. They famously cheer each other on in interviews and social media posts. Given John's cheerful persona, many find it hard to imagine that he'd let a project spiral into negativity without stepping in. He's known for fostering a welcoming set, encouraging collaboration, and maintaining an environment where cast and crew feel heard. For every rumor about IF being a disaster, there are multiple accounts describing John as an empathetic leader who values everyone's input. Fans who point to John's presence argue that if anything truly toxic were happening, he'd address it head-on or we'd see some sign of him distancing himself from Ryan. Instead, the two seem just as friendly as ever. John has posted playful jokes about Ryan online, and Ryan responds in kind. If you subscribe to the rumor, it means believing that John either got steamrolled by Ryan's alleged demands or turned a blind eye to unethical treatment. Neither scenario aligns with how he's operated in past projects, from A Quiet Place to his smaller indie endeavors. That leaves the rumor with a big obstacle to overcome, explaining how John, Steve, and Ryan, three people with strong reputations for decency, could suddenly become entangled in backstage chaos so severe that Steve supposedly exposed Ryan for it. Yet, no one from the film's team has confirmed any such rift. As far as the public knows, it's smooth sailing, with the cast simply excited to bring a heartfelt story to audiences. Let's face it, in an age where any piece of news, verified or not, can go viral in a matter of minutes, sensational stories have serious staying power. Headlines like "Steve Carell exposes Ryan Reynolds" practically beg readers to click. Fans share it with friends, who share it with their friends, and before you know it, the rumor stands on its own, divorced from any semblance of factual reporting. Content creators who thrive on clicks and ad revenue might not care if the claim lacks substance. As long as it generates traffic, it's worth keeping alive. Additionally, there's been a broader shift in how audiences view comedic actors in recent years.
Well, that is also accurate and weirdly high praise as well. It was just one of those. It felt like a live-action Pixar movie. It was something that, I wanted to do something where nobody was being stabbed in the face.
Yes.
There was almost no blood at all. I think I got a little paper cut on the movie. That was about it. And something that my kids can watch, but also as a parent, too, you want the parents need to get punched right in the heart as well.
A handful of well-known comedians were exposed for problematic behavior, shattering the once untouchable idea that a funny public persona equates to a harmless private life. Now, whenever there's a whiff of scandal tied to a comedic talent, fans are more inclined to believe it could be true. They don't want to be fooled by a charming facade. This more skeptical climate can make a rumor about Ryan Reynolds' alleged negativity easier to swallow than it might have been a decade ago. But vigilance can quickly morph into rumor-mongering. If you're expecting every comedic star to have skeletons in their closet, you might read too deeply into benign interactions. In many ways, that dynamic is fueling the story about Steve and Ryan. People who are convinced that where there's smoke, there's fire may not require actual smoke, just repeated claims. And once they accept the rumor as plausible, they'll share it widely, perpetuating a cycle that keeps the buzz alive without ever offering real evidence. For some observers, this entire saga is just another example of how the internet amplifies rumors that might otherwise vanish. Yet it also raises bigger questions about how quickly we're willing to tear down our heroes. Both Steve Carell and Ryan Reynolds have cultivated images that stand out in a competitive field. They don't just entertain, they make us feel like they could be our friends. The abrupt shift in public opinion when a scandal arises, founded or not, speaks volumes about how eagerly we devour negative headlines. Perhaps the real story is simpler. A vibrant set with occasional pressures, nothing extraordinary, got spun into a sensational narrative. Or maybe there was a minor disagreement that ballooned online into accusations of toxic behavior. Rumors often start with a grain of truth, but in a sprawling industry like Hollywood, that grain can quickly sprout into a jungle of rumors unrecognizable from the original seed. In a culture increasingly focused on calling out wrongdoing, it's also crucial to remember the importance of evidence. Just because something is repeated across multiple websites or social media platforms doesn't make it factual. With so many conflicting angles and absolutely zero verified accounts, the Steve Carell exposes Ryan Reynolds for a toxic work environment story remains, at best, an uncorroborated rumor. When all is said and done, we're left with a puzzling rumor that flies in the face of nearly everything we know about two actors admired for their kindness and comedic brilliance. It hinges on the claim that Steve Carell, who rarely criticizes anyone publicly, would call out Ryan Reynolds, a star known for generosity and quick wit, for running a harmful movie set on If. The evidence? Almost nothing beyond recycled social media chatter and sensational blog posts hungry for views. Fans hoping for clarity will likely watch the film's promotion closely. If Steve and Ryan appear relaxed, genuine, and supportive of each other, it will reinforce the view that the rumor was pure fabrication. If, on the remote chance, tension or more allegations surface, it could crack open a story that no one saw coming. Either way, the best approach is measured skepticism. Weigh the reputations both men have built, consider the absence of hard evidence, and remember that viral talk thrives on our collective fascination with shocking revelations. For now, the rumor remains an entertaining piece of Hollywood gossip, a mystery that piques our curiosity but lacks the muscle to stand on its own. Perhaps the biggest takeaway is how easily the internet can turn a whisper into a shout, especially when it targets beloved figures. Unless a reliable voice steps forward to confirm the claims, it's wiser to enjoy the performances and the upcoming film without letting baseless gossip overshadow what could be a genuinely magical production. After all, both Steve Carell and Ryan Reynolds made their mark by making us laugh, and that's the brand of entertainment most viewers are actually looking forward to. A bright, uplifting experience that, until proven otherwise, stands far apart from any rumored toxicity.